Hey guys, how's it going? Today I wanted to talk about the subject of, is hunting acceptable? Well, once again, I think I'm not going to be able to give you a perfect answer on that. It's very relative if you really think about it, because it is acceptable in one way and it's also not acceptable. For example, the circumstance where it's completely unacceptable is if it's gonna make an animal, be it fish, mammal, whatever you want to call them, extinct. If you're going to kill a lion, for example, because we know very well that there aren't that many on this earth, and you're just doing it because you want to have the thrill of killing a lion and you want to have that trophy, then that's a horrible thing to do if you really think about it. But if, for example, you need to hunt because that's what you need to do in order to survive, and the area you're living in gives you no choice, then in a way that becomes almost the survival of the fittest. In nature, animals hunt, right? And yes, every life is precious, but unfortunately something that's kind of sad to think about is that every single living being on this earth will kill at some point or another. And that's kind of strange to think about. But you could be walking and you could kill an ant, and that probably happens to you more than you think. And does that make you a murderer? No. Does that make the ant less important? No. Because for them, the world is being an ant, as for you, being human is the whole world in some way. So it's really difficult to say, but I do think that we live in a world where people are just hunting too much in a way. They're not even really hunting anymore, they're killing. And that's a big problem. I know that in some places, for example, they have deer hunting, and that's because there's an overpopulation of deers, and in order to keep that in control, they tell people that during a certain season they're allowed to basically hunt these deer, because it's important, because they would actually destroy other things if there were too many of them, and there would be an overpopulation, and they would pretty much destroy the ecosystem. And that comes to another subject on that matter, is that obviously we have an ecosystem, and that's why they say not to bring other animals that are not part of that ecosystem into other ones. For example, on islands and stuff like that, if you were to bring a specific species of animals and then they start eating all the other animals that have never had that kind of predator in their arsenal of people that were killing them, then what happens is that you're not really hunting the animals on purpose, but these animals are going to hunt the animals. So yes, basically hunters are not just humans, they're also animals hunting throughout the world, and even ants hunt. So yes, it's basically relative, and it depends on what you are hunting. If it's an endangered species, or if it's just to get their tusks because you want to create art out of their tusks and stuff like that, that's also horrible. And also, for example, I know in Japan they have this thing where they like to hunt dolphins, and they just slaughter them because I don't know, in one belief or the other, they just thought that the dolphin wasn't a good creature, and they just slaughtered them. They made a documentary about it, and it's horrible. So that's really not a good thing, because there's no reasoning to it. And of course that comes to another subject where now we have all this farming and over saturation of just breeding basically animals in order to eat them or to feed them to more animals so that they can grow bigger and then kill those animals, and then we eat them. And then on top of that, what we do is that we chop them up, sell them to companies, and some of it will be served to us as food, and then another half of it will be thrown away because maybe the food is bad, or people return their food, or whatever, you know. So we do live in a society where there's a lot of exaggeration, and if things do not change, then we're in for a really, really dark ride, and that's a big problem. So I think that depending on the culture, depending on the area, depending on your situation, hunting is acceptable. But at the same time, you really need to think about, is it for the better of the earth? Is it for survival? Do you have no other choice? Could you just eat plant-based stuff? Or is it because by killing one animal, you're actually saving 10 people, you know? And not just people, but maybe an ecosystem. And I guess if you did that, then it would be okay, right? So yeah, basically it's tough, you know. We don't live in a very Disney-minded world in some way. And what's funny is I think that the more we live in a first world society, the more people have dreams and they actually sugarcoat stuff, but at the same time they're not really aware of the real world and of the tragic things that are happening in it, and that's really sad. That's really, really sad. So yeah, people don't really live in the real world anymore. They don't realize stuff. But yeah, coming back to the subject, again, if you need to survive and you need to hunt, it's acceptable. If the animal is extinct or starting to become extinct, well, it would have to start to become extinct, such as tigers, lions, you name it, then it's not right to just do a trophy hunt. That's really horrible, because there's just no point. I would just say that it would be better to create a robotic version of these animals, and if you want to have the thrill, then shoot that robot so that they can resuscitate it, and then the next millionaire who wants to spend thousands of dollars hunting an animal can just hunt that animal, you know, because otherwise there's no point really to it. I mean, what did that animal do to you? What if they were hunting you, you know? They're just minding their own business, and there's really no point to it. Like, literally, if you shoot a gun, it's just one pull of the trigger, you know, and it takes 1 second, and yeah, I guess you can keep the skin and make a rug out of it, but you could just create a synthetic one, and honestly, with today's technology, the synthetic one might actually be better. So yeah, there's no point to it. There's no point to that kind of hunting. But for ecosystem, or because you need to survive in a certain way, then it's okay. But yeah, not for not to create just a sort of trophy. That's stupid. Okay, well, have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed my talk. Listen to me more. I do this 5 times a week. Have a great day. Bye.